Hello, everybody. We are live. Thanks for tuning in to FSP Fun Speculation Podcast. As you can see, Key could not be with us today because he actually is helping get ready for his son's big 18th birthday. That's a big celebration day. So he's not going to be able to join in. He said he could maybe possibly towards the end, but we'll see here. But hey. Bailing us out in his stead is one of the community's best, one of the funniest people you'll ever see on Twitter. If you're familiar with his videos, somebody that will be sorely missed on a podcast that he just had to recently announce he was leaving. A man with a new promotion, all of these things, lots going on in the world of MAGG. But shout out to MAGG, Middleagegameguy. What's up, man? And thanks for joining us today.
Yes. What's up, Mav? What's up, Fuzzy? What's going on, guys? What's going on, chat? Yes, I am here. And yes, this is kind of my life now. I'm sort of all over the place. I'll be here. I'll be there. I'm kind of like Batman. I'm just one minute here, 1 minute I'm over there. So who the hell knows where you'll find me next? But yeah, and I'm trying to light Twitter on fire tonight. I had a lot to say and I had a lot of things going on. So go check out some of that stuff. And I'm sure to upset a lot of people because it's kind of what I do. But anyways, guys, we got a show for you tonight. Let's get right into this.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, the newest videos, the last two actually, because you've done like, was it 2 today or 1 yesterday, 1 today?
No, I did 2 today. Yeah.
I was just both of them are great. One was, I'm guessing that was your son in one of them. Or,
yeah,
and that was great. He's holding the PS5 box and he's like, "We just got fire sprayed." Like, yes, oh, it's so great. And then you did a Stone Cold Stunner on him, I believe. Is that what that was? It's just,
yes. Like, well, I tried.
Yeah,
it's hard to give an 8-year-old a Stone Cold Stunner, but yeah, I gave it a shot anyway.
that was great, man. I love it. And then the other video you just did, about the 7 reasons not to buy an Xbox, that was great as well. Those articles, man.
It's so funny because Dealer just dropped a video the same time I did.
Yeah,
and I was gonna send him a message and I'd be like, "You beat me to it by 20 minutes." But I mean, obviously his was a little longer. His went to YouTube and it was about 12 minutes long. And it's so funny because we both had the same mindset, but I'm going to hit him up later. We'll have a laugh about it, but
right on.
Either way.
Yeah. Great minds think alike, right? Hey, Fuzzy Belvedere, thank you for being here as always, compadre. How's it going with you today, sir?
Not too bad. Getting a kick out of Mag's video with his son earlier today, and just enjoying the gaming news as it unfolds. Man, it's still going to unfold 5 years down the road when we're like, is it exclusive, is it really? But man, I can't wait to get into these topics today. So glad to be here, so glad we got Mag with us here tonight. So man, this should be fun.
Right on, dude. Yeah, we got lots to talk about. I mean, a lot of stuff has happened. I mean, we did our thumbnail for this show earlier in the week, and even since then, even more has happened. But I want to get to a couple things here because we, something we've really kind of stayed away from on some of our shows is actually like the Call of Duty aspect on PlayStation, right? Because the debate right now is, okay, is it going to be exclusive after 2023? Like, let's say 2024's Call of Duty, or if there even is a 2024 Call of Duty, because they could be changing the way the model works with their game development in the future for COD. But let's just say, like, if Call of Duty is made to be an exclusive game for the Xbox ecosystem, how will PlayStation cope with that? And would they be okay? Because already images are starting to come out on Twitter with signs in front of PS5s and like I believe it was France about warning buyers that Xbox is acquiring Activision and Blizzard, and Call of Duty is part of that, right? So there is an effect on this, and the curious to know how much of an effect we think it will be if that actually happens, which is still up in the air, right? So this is all speculatory conversation, but I think it's worthy of having at this point because it is such a big franchise for PlayStation. I believe the revenue that they make off of it came out, and it was everybody's like, oh, that's nothing, but it is still a substantial amount of money, right? And it's not just about that; it's about the other value that it provides to the brand, not direct. right? And direct, where you're selling more consoles because of the recognition, all of these kind of things, right? So, Mag, what kind of impact do you think Call of Duty potentially leaving with the yearly type releases in the future on PlayStation? Like, would that have a massive impact? Will they have to do something to counter that, you know?
Yeah, it's going to have a massive impact on them. And I'll tell you why. The worst Call of Duty to ever be released came out this year. Well, last year, but this year, basically, I'll call it this year, okay, with Vanguard. Vanguard was still the #1 selling game on PlayStation in 2021. Okay, put that in perspective for just 1 second. The fact that in 2021, with, you know, they had Ratchet and Clank come out, they had Returnal come out, Kenna Bridge of Spirits came out. Great games, by the way. I'm not taking anything away from those games, but still the #1 selling game of 2021 was the worst Call of Duty they've ever made. Okay, that will, and then when they start making, wait till Modern Warfare 2 comes out. Wait until, I don't know, whatever else they're working on, Advanced Warfare 2, maybe a couple of years from now or something. Okay, that is going to have a massive impact, because what ends up happening is, too, because you got to understand something. It's not just Call of Duty, you know, it's not just Warzone or whatever. People are buying the mainline Call of Duties. And with that, on top of it, Sony takes, what, 30% off the top of each sale. So that hits them hard, and it keeps people out of their ecosystem. The other thing that it does affect directly is, of course, the Major League Gaming. Okay, and when you've got the Major League Gaming, the MLG or whatever the hell it's called, and it used to be sponsored by PlayStation. And what else did PlayStation have? PlayStation used to get those exclusive, timed exclusive items, some of them full year exclusive. You remember that a couple of years ago? Yeah. I think it was with Modern Warfare. They had that one mode, which, by the way, is one of my favorite modes of all time.
Was it like a 2-player co-op mode or something like that?
Yeah. And it was the survival mode, where you basically take on waves of bad guys or whatever. You have to survive to like round 15 or whatever. Mm-hmm. My wife and I played that continuously. We loved it, right? And they took that away from Xbox. That was odd. And then they said they weren't going to bring it back at all. Yeah. I don't even know if they got it, because by the next year, who cares, right? Because then the next Call of Duty comes out. Right. Yeah. So like everybody's forgotten the fact that, like, you know, these things were happening. They got exclusive maps. They got maps early. They got different game modes early. These were all big things that drew people to the PlayStation ecosystem. Now, that being said, it also gets people into that PlayStation ecosystem and keeps them there, so that the next time they buy Call of Duty, they're going to buy it on PlayStation. And then the next, whatever, FIFA or Madden or NHL or whatever they're buying, especially the casuals, they're going to do it on PlayStation because they've already got it, right? So taking that away is massive. It's not going to happen this year. It's not going to happen next year. But the year after that, it is definitely not going to be. I am telling you 100% certain that these games are going to be exclusive to Xbox. Warzone will continue to do its thing, very similar to what the hell is it called? Elder Scrolls Online. Yeah. Okay, legacy titles. Okay, like Warzone will continue to be there, just like Fortnite, just like Apex, just like Elder Scrolls Online. Okay, that will continue to happen. However, the mainline Call of Duties will all end up on Xbox and stay there. You do not spend $70 billion to hand things out to other people for free like candy. It doesn't work like that. Right. Mav, do you buy a car and then share it with your neighbors because maybe your neighbor doesn't have a car? Pretty sure you don't.
No. Now, if he paid me a crap ton of money, it would be a consideration. But that would be a negotiation that would have to take place.
You know,
and maybe he would have to lend me something instead. You know what I mean?
Did you buy your house so that other people can live in it? No. You bought it for you. Right. Okay, and then that's exactly what they're doing here. Now, the other thing is, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but I am going to slightly get off on a tangent, is that they didn't really buy this for Call of Duty was a major reason. Yes, okay, let's face it. It's a major reason. However, they want that revenue from King. Yeah. Okay, King, the mobile developers. Yeah. They need that money to keep coming in for one specific reason only, is because when they start losing that revenue stream from the PlayStation side, you're making it up with King. Okay, and when they're cranking in $400 million a month or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
Okay, That's where that lost money from PlayStation goes in. The other thing is, if you start doing the math, all they need is 2 million extra subscribers to go into Game Pass, and you've made up all the money that PlayStation was making from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That's all you needed is 2
Oh,
million.
and it's going to bring
subs.
way more than that, you would think. I mean,
exactly. So
you're making
that argument's out the window.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying, Mav? That's where the argument goes completely out the window.
Yeah.
Of, are they going to survive without PlayStation? I'm like, yeah, that's why they bought everybody else with it. Those other companies are going to be pushing, pouring all their money into the same pot. Okay. And then the extra subscriptions go in there on top of it. This is a win, 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 and win for Microsoft. So that's the way it's going to go. So, but they're going to honor the deals, obviously. But after that,
which the deals that were reported currently go through 2023, and then potentially whatever Warzone 2 may end up being called, which is possibly a next-gen exclusive game. So
yes, it is.
The next 3 Call of Duties, which would be this year's, next year's, and then Warzone 3 is what, or Warzone 2 is what it looks like currently. Is concrete. That's going to happen on PlayStation. So for the next year, 3 years or 2.5 years or whatever, everybody, PlayStation, you're fine. You still get your COD. After that, though, you might want to be looking at those signs in front of the display cases at France's Target or whatever the hell that is, right?
And you know what? Something else is that by 2 years' time, okay, the Series X and the Series S will be very plentiful.
Oh yeah.
Okay, to be able to pick up in the store, and you could bet you could bet almost anything that you'll be able to pick up a Series S at that point on Black Friday for $1.99. Okay, for $199, I guarantee it. And that's where they're really going to nail you. Because let's face it, when Sony really took off in the PS4 generation, it wasn't the first 2 years. It wasn't even the first 3 years. It was in year 5 when they launched, so was it Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And then that Black Friday, because that launched in September, I believe.
They had that bundle.
They had the bundle. And then the bundle on Black Friday for $199, and people were buying 6 and 7 at a time. You remember those pictures? You see the guys with the carts at Target, and they had like 7 PS4s jammed in them. And that's where their console sales went through the roof, because then it got cheap. And when it gets cheaper and more affordable, that's when families get involved. That's when people start buying them for 6-year-olds. Ain't nobody buying a $700 console.
At that point, it's also an impulse buy, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I really want that. My paycheck was a little bit more this week than I was anticipating. You got an extra couple $100. I'm gonna splurge today while my wife's going around and getting the chicken nuggets for the kids, and I'm over here wasting my time in an electronics department, right? You're kind of killing time, shopping around, and like, man, I'm gonna send her a text and just see if will she let me buy this PlayStation? I think she will. I'm gonna test it. Silly things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't have to bundle it with anything.
Right.
You know why? You don't have to bundle it with anything because Game Pass is the bundle.
Yeah.
Instead of bundling it in with one game, you've just bundled it in with 600 games. Yep. Let that sink in for a second, guys. That is unbelievable. You are literally getting this little box, and here you go. You take it home, $199 at that point. Okay, not now, but then, and you've got access to 600 games. That is a parent's wet dream, because parents don't want. Let me tell you something. I got 2 Switches in my house. Okay, sorry, Fuzzy. I'm sorry. I've been totally taking over the mic here, but let me just get this out, and then it's all yours. By the way, hi to Connor in the chat. He just checked it out, and I just sent him a link, and he came to check us out tonight. Anyways, here we go. The thing is that I have 2 Switches in this house. Do you know how much I cringe up here in Canada that we got to pay $100 for a Switch game? And if my kids be like, can I get the new Mario? Before he even says Mario, I'm already saying no.
Yeah.
Because it's $100. And you know what the thing is? If they play it for 14 minutes, that I'm lucky. And then what do? They go back to playing Fortnite.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, a great point. Value wins always. Right?
Yeah.
And that's just the case. I've been making that case ever since they announced the Series S. and when Game Pass originally came out, especially when they started announcing the day and date games, right? It's like because it's just it's a value that's you can look at it for what it was when it started, but it grows over time. The value proposition is exponential here because every time they drop a new game or announce a new game, the value gets stronger. Anytime they make an acquisition, the value proposition gets stronger. And yes, I was kidding. In the chat, I see my wife give me a hard time. You're not the one that only has to shop for the nuggets, okay?
I love that. She's throwing smoke in that chat right now. I just looked down. I'm like, KhAo's at it.
The men and everybody can do the shopping, and the women can also hang around the electronics department and hang around and then they can text their husbands and ask them if they can buy a Xbox. I'm just kidding. Again, I'm sorry. That was a joke. I'm sorry. Okay. No asking is necessary from anybody. Right? We're all individuals. Anyway. All right. So, Fuzzy. Now, what does Call of Duty or what does PlayStation do at this point? Right? Okay. So that was their big first-person shooter that they identified with as to their audience. It's like this is brand recognition with PlayStation. Okay. Yeah. Regardless of anything, that is disappearing because the brand recognition is going to go to Xbox after this deal is going through, even if somehow there still was Call of Duty games coming out. So that brand recognition shift and all that stuff. So that was kind of like their first-person shooter, right? Even though it was multi-plat, a lot of people just associated it with PlayStation because of all the marketing and all that stuff. So
same thing with Destiny when that first came out 100%. As well.
So what does PlayStation do? Like, because as of this goes, and also with the potential that the only big first-person shooter brand they could potentially have in the future, besides Warzone, in the free-to-play games, would be Battlefield, which is not doing so well in and of itself right now, and also talks about it going free-to-play. Like, what do they do? Do they need to go and really think about reviving some IP or creating some new first-person shooters, or is that something that's necessary?
I think they should look back at their back catalog of some of the IPs that they have for first-person shooters. Like, I think this deal will hopefully push Sony to get back into the creative mode, because as much as people like to talk about Activision just focusing on Call of Duty, it seems like PlayStation now is mainly focusing on like remastering a lot of their classics and bringing them back for the PS5 or for PC and whatnot. So hopefully this will push them back into looking a little bit deeper into crates, I guess you could say, at things like Resistance or things like SOCOM. Yeah. Those games, I'm not going to lie, they're not going to be a replacement for Call of Duty. I mean, it's going to take a while for any of those to really garner that same, whether it be the revenue or just the popularity in general. But to have them bring back something like Resistance, so that way you have like the World War II meets sci-fi mix, that's something that is exclusive to their brand. Or if you have SOCOM, something that's more of a modern warfare, more tactical shooter type of deal, which a lot of people have been asking for, and it just seems like it falls on deaf ears right now. I think that's the better approach for them to go and look at, kind of using that as a stopgap or a filler, because one, they own those IPs, and two, they have the wherewithal at that point to put as much focus on those, or as much love and attention as they would need to kind of, still draw customers to pick up that PlayStation for something that's a little bit different than Call of Duty. But like I said, it's going to take them a while for it to get that same recognition of Call of Duty. But, leaning on Battlefield, not to knock it, but it just seems like they kind of blew their opportunity to this go around. It was almost a perfect storm for them to really kind of stick it to Call of Duty and be the mainstream first person shooter. But it looks like they're having their own struggles because of EA issues or what have you. But I think Sony needs to look at things like that, or maybe even look at smaller titles like, and I'm probably a Insurgency Sandstorm stand for this, but games like that, they could, NWI is a small team. It's something that they could easily pick up, and that would have at least something that yeah, it has a PC presence, and it just recently got a console presence. It's something that they could easily work on and build up to, not necessarily the level of a Call of Duty, but definitely something that at least garner that first person shooter, itch that some, gamers out there would have for it. So there's still plenty of options for them. I'm of the mind frame that, Warzone 2 is going to be their last real, inkling of Call of Duty on PlayStation, let's say 2024-ish range or 2025. And at that point, when the single player stuff is going to, be like a Game Pass exclusive, and it's only coming out every 2 to 3 years or so, I think at that point they'll have something to kind of, fill in the gap type of deal. But,
Yeah.
like Mag was saying, you don't pay $70 billion to share or give away stuff. You might give them a taste with, Warzone 2, and, that's still going to rake in some money, and that's still going to have enough attention to it that people are still going to want to play that, on any type of platform.
Yeah.
I think the big thing now would be, just turn the Call of Duty single player into that, not necessarily the Michael Bay experience for a shooter, but make it so it's like, every 3 years or so, you look forward to it. And it's like a movie experience where you and your friends could either, play co-op or, have like the team deathmatch, smaller stuff that would be just exclusive on Xbox at that point. But the big team stuff, Warzone, that's where everybody can play. The cross play is, there and whatnot. But I think that's kind of the direction that Call of Duty moves towards. And I think Sony will be all right. It's just they better start getting things cooking now.
Now that's the other thing, like with Warzone, right? And if the Warzone 2 or whatever they're going to call it, next gen only, that I would imagine at that point Call of Duty be making a large leap, right? Because I would imagine at that point as well, then the single player games also will be next gen only, right?
Yeah.
That is a lot. I mean, it's still going to be a home there, and I think it will still draw an audience, but like still that brand recognition. Like, but every time Warzone's going to launch on a PlayStation, it'll have Xbox Game Studios in front of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how do they like? I think that's a big deal to PlayStation. I don't know if it's like gonna make them remove it off their service or whatever, but like that's I think them seeing that is like an advertisement again that it's for Xbox every time you launch it, right? And that stuff, regardless of what anybody thinks, has an impact subconsciously and to the casual audience, especially that don't really care where they play, as long as they know that they're getting the new content. And I think the bundling of all of the old Call of Duty library, plus knowing that all future Call of Duties are going to be in Game Pass, is in and of itself a huge selling point, especially if you can get a console for $299 or in the future less, or like you're saying, it'll probably be $199, $249 at some point, right?
Easily.
That it's gonna be hard to pass up on the value proposition of that, and that's kind of the genius of this move. It's not, and if we think, like Mag said, it's not just about COD, but if COD in and of itself wasn't such a big deal, which some people are playing it off like it's not, Sony stocks wouldn't have dropped $20 billion within a day. Right.
Listen, a lot of people say they don't play Call of Duty. That's fine. And you know what? Whether they do or whether they don't, that's their whatever. But you cannot deny that Call of Duty is the biggest gaming franchise on this planet, basically, on a yearly basis. I'm not talking about overall, because I know people are going to be like, well, what about Minecraft? What about Fortnite? What about Apex? Whatever. Right? These other things, they make a ton of money. Roblox makes billions. Okay. But year in, year out, when it comes to the gamers, what is always the number one selling game every single year is Call of Duty.
Right.
Every single year. You look at the MPDs. I mean, I know MPDs is like the physical sales, but look at what's going on. You look at the list of all the years from like 2006 all the way till 2021. What is always number one, except for 1 year, was Grand Theft Auto 5.
Right.
And then it was COD, all the way down.
Yep.
Right? It is a big deal. By the way, I want to ask you guys a quick question. I know it's not my show, but I'm going to ask you a question anyway. Do you guys think, and sorry, I haven't answered myself. Do you guys think that starting this year, Call of Duty's going day and date in Game Pass? Regardless of the deal or not, do you think that they're going to do that goodwill move and start making that move right there?
So I'll tackle this first because this is like actually the second time that this question's been asked, and it to me on a show from a guest, and it's actually like something. It's like I keep thinking about it, and I remember that there was some of the ZeniMax Bethesda games from the library that had went in, I believe, day and date, like Doom, 2016 may have dropped in there before the deal was done, potentially some of the other games, but as far as they have to be careful, right? Because they have to operate separately and they have to make deals that would be in their best interest to their shareholders and everything for them, regardless if this deal goes through or not. So like, I don't understand all of the antitrust laws and all the regulators and stuff that they're going to be looking at and all of these things, right? But I do know that they don't want to put anything in place that's going to potentially damage this deal from going through.
Fair enough. Good answer.
So
good answer.
If it was worth it enough for them to potentially take any kind of risk with that, or if they're just 100% confident this is no problem whatsoever, it's the same deal we do with all the other publishers, we're going to make it an offer. Activision at that point has never had a Game Pass game prior to this, right? So
good point.
If they do that, they could, I would say somebody could potentially use that as well. They're doing this because of the deal. They've never done one before. But then Microsoft could go and say, well, Square never did one before Outriders. Sega never did one before Total War Warhammer 3 and 2 Point Campus. And also Ubisoft never did one day and date before Rainbow Six Extraction. All publishers are starting to do it now. So, I think it would be something that they would have to make sure 100% wasn't going to cause any problems. If they are confident in that, I would say yes. However, I don't know, man. It's like it's too up in the air, and like, does Activision Blizzard want to do that currently? I think Activision Blizzard's probably already personally making moves they know is in the best interest of the future for the company under Microsoft, but they can't publicly appear to do so, right? So it's very strange rules. I don't understand how that shit works because it's like, so there's a transition. They have to make sure that all the financing and with all the books and everything operates properly with the transition. They can't just like, okay, you're part of us now. Let's figure it out, right? There's a process, but then they also have to operate separately. So it's just this weird period that is going to be interesting. Now, I personally hope so. Because I want to save $70, right? But
they're expensive.
Yeah, another point to this though that a lot of people are overlooking, right? Another aspect of this, after this deal goes through, okay, you can bet those Activision Blizzard games are not going to be $70; they're going to be $60. Sarah Bond has already said that she's not a fan of the $70 game model.
Booyah! I love it.
So also you can bet that cross-buy will be a feature implemented on Activision Blizzard games, which means you'll buy Call of Duty on your Xbox. You'll also have it on your PC after this deal goes through. And you'll have cross-save functionality as well. All of these features that people say are like, okay, well, it's bad for the gaming if Xbox buys Activision Blizzard, all this nonsense, right? Already cheaper, lower price. Plus, you have the option of getting in a Game Pass, and you know that inevitably, if you do decide to buy it and you're a Game Pass subscriber, you still get a discount in that case as well. Plus, you get the cross-save, cross-buy, potentially, who knows, FPS boost on past titles, and maybe get some of those old 60 frames Call of Duties, 120 with 120 modes. Is it possible?
That's going to happen.
Backwards compatibility, it could be potentially added to some titles. Now, they said they're done, right, with back compat, but that was before they dropped $70 billion on a company that has a huge stable of IP, right? I would think,
hear me out.
If anything's going to change things, that would be that, right?
Hear me out. The Call of Duty Master Chief Collection.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's not obviously Master Chief, but you know what I'm saying. It's going to be like the Master Chief. Can you imagine if they released, and you know what's really funny? I said this to Mooch, no joke, 4 years ago, and I actually have, Graphic God. He's got the recording, so he's going to find the clip for me where I said back in 2017, I said to Mooch, I said, you know what would make Game Pass like the absolute ultimate monster? If somehow you could get every single Call of Duty in there from past to present.
Right.
And this was 4 years ago. I said that. Anyway, like I said, Graphic God's trying to find it for me because he wants to clip it. Because I mean, man, I got to tell you, that's something. But here's the thing: imagine like a Master Chief Collection style Call of Duty where you could have all 16 Call of Duties in there in one package, up-resed, frame rates are up. They clean up the images, whatever, right? They do whatever they got to do to make it just like Master Chief. And imagine a multiplayer where they're able to pull out, let's say, 100 of the best or most our favorite maps of all time into one conglomerate, one monster package, and put it like I said, just like they did with the Master Chief Collection. What do they have? Like almost 100 maps, or something like that.
Yeah,
okay?
it was a lot.
Why
I don't
the
know
hell
how many.
not? Why not? Why not do that in Call of Duty? And then that's what Xbox should release in, like, I don't know, 2024 or something. And then they do something like that where you have the ultimate Call of Duty collection. And then they release that in one thing and pop you right into Game Pass. You've got 50 million, 60 million subscribers by that point, access to 100+ maps, plus Warzone 2, plus new mainline Call of Duties coming out. You don't think that this is what's going to happen? I'm telling you this is going to happen. When Disney bought Marvel and Lucasfilm and Pixar and everything under the sun, what did you think they were going to do? They were going to be churning out Star Wars content like an organ grinder. Okay? They were going to be churning out Marvel like crazy. And what have they done? How many dozens of Marvel movies and TV shows are we sitting on now?
Oh,
right?
Yeah. And they're all better for it, too, for being in a subscription service. Yep.
Goddamn right. And so they're going to do the same thing with Call of Duty. I don't think they're going to do it ad nauseum. They're not going to be releasing one every year. I think they're going to pump the brakes on that. But I think a Call of Duty collection would be something they could do. And also, I have one other thing I'm going to say, because I've said it on someone else's show. I don't want anybody to steal the ideas, except for Xbox. They could steal this idea. My idea is this. Just release a game in 2024 called Call of Duty. That's it. No name, no anything. Just call it Call of Duty.
Just
like Halo Infinite. Right. Just like Halo Infinite is a 10-year game. Just like Destiny 2 is presumably 10-year game. Forza Motorsport is coming out. They didn't put a number in front of it.
Yeah.
The reason why? It's going to be a reboot / games as a service that's going to run for 10 years, and they're going to keep adding on DLC and DLC and DLC. So instead of doing an annual release of Call of Duty, release one Call of Duty, and then once a year release these DLC, or every 6 months or whatever, release DLC packages. And here's the cool idea. Call it Call of Duty War Stories. And each DLC is a different war story, not like Battlefield. What it would be a different time timeline. Like, for example, you'd have one in modern day. The next DLC will be World War II. The next DLC will be Vietnam. Or the next DLC after that will be the future. And you do that over the course of 10 years, just like Destiny does with their story DLC and all that kind of stuff. And then they add the multiplayer, whatever else. And you build this 10-year like monster game. And it's just called Call of Duty, and then you have the subcategories called War Stories. And so if you got people bitching, I don't want World War II. Well, now you could play Vietnam. Now you could play whatever, the Korean War. You could play World War I. You could play whatever, and on and on and on. And I think that that's what they're going to do. So that by doing that, you're avoiding the quote unquote yearly release of a full game. And instead, you just keep building on this solid foundation of this one game and build it over the course of many years. And add it into what? Into Game Pass to get people to keep subscribing for more.
Right. Yeah. With Game Pass becomes more relevance for traditional game model releases we've seen. Right.
Yeah.
You can have a game that grows and improves over time. They improve all their old games anyway. Right. So you know, if you do have something that continues to grow. Fuzzy, like something that I had forgotten about as well when MAGG just asked that question was like And last time I was asked, this is one of the responses I had made, and P Firebird in the chat was actually reminded me about this from some of the other people that answered that question about Game Pass and Call of Duty and these games coming earlier. Now, Activision probably had marketing rights with Call of Duty for PlayStation, right? Mm-hmm. So we've seen, remember that Capcom leaked document that leaked like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago that was for like Resident Evil, and it had like language in there that was like $5 million marketing rights, we're going to do all this stuff, but you're not allowed to put in any other subscription services. So if these contracts are in existence still and in place for Call of Duty between Activision and Sony, then that would take that off the table as well, I would think. Wouldn't you? Yeah.
No, I think that's going to be probably the case more so than anything. We may still not see Call of Duty until after the deal is done and the contract with PlayStation is expired as far as their marketing rights. But I think we'll start to see some of their other titles trickle in. Like as far as like Diablo, I can see some of the earlier ones being in Game Pass.
Like Diablo 3 pop in there in Game Pass. That would make a lot of sense.
Like Crash and Spyro, I could see their previous releases, make it into Game Pass before the deal is, completed and things like that. But after the deal is completed, yeah, we'll definitely see Call of Duty in there day and date, going forward. Like, kind of like what MAGG was saying. I always look at it as kind of like not really episodic, but like every 2 to 3 years, like you said, do a new like theater or a new area or time frame as far as for like where they focus on for Call of Duty, and then the same weapons, the same skins, the same maps, or some of the areas wind up being maps or zones for Warzone during that same time frame. So Warzone will still get the drip feed, I guess you can say, from some of this as far as the visuals, but the story stuff will be strictly the, behind the Game Pass paywall, I guess you could say, or you can buy it outright on Xbox and PC. But I think Game Pass will be the main place to consume it. And if you want to, buy the full content to just own it outright, then yeah, you'll still have that option to do so. But I don't think we see, because of Sony, because they do have that no streaming subscription service type of thing in some of their contracts. I wouldn't expect to see at least Call of Duty until 2024 or something like that type of deal. But
right,
man, I think the biggest thing we have to look at now is Sony's approach on how they would get exclusivity or get special content and things like that. I think that now this will probably shine a bigger light on it. Yeah, everybody wants to say, oh, Xbox is bad for doing this, but it's like, this is why Xbox is doing this, because they're tired of these timed exclusive things where it's like, hey, we might not see a Final Fantasy this generation. Sure, there's always going to be that vocal group that's like, oh, it didn't really sell well on Xbox, or you guys didn't support it as well. Well, whether that's true or not, that deal still stinks. How you look at it, type of deal. But yeah, it Call of Duty definitely exclusive. Definitely start seeing it in day and date and Game Pass, maybe 2024 or 2025, whenever that one is released. I love MAGG's idea as far as the just call it Call of Duty and do kind of like that ongoing content type of feed for it. And at that point, you can't really complain that it's no longer on PlayStation, because now the way it's being delivered, it is like a exclusive series. It is now like an episodic setup. So unless you're going to be in that ecosystem, it doesn't really make sense to piecemeal that stuff elsewhere, type of deal. But Warzone 2, hey, you'll have the weapons, you'll have the skins, you'll have the characters, the operators, you'll have access to that on your free to play model that that you're currently enjoying now, just for next gen and PC type of deal. So
right. Appreciate the $5 super chat from Luke Skywalker. Love that. Frick yeah, I've never gotten a super chat from a Jedi before, so super appreciate that. But he said they should make a COD with every map ever made called COD Ultimate and add new map packs every 3 months. Yeah.
I already said that, Luke Skywalker, but I'm not going to argue with a Jedi Master, so I'm just
what he
I'm
did,
just gonna keep my mouth shut.
he performed a Jedi mind trick on you and made you say that. You just don't know, Mag. You just didn't know that.
And by the way, Tony Grasso, cut this shit with the Call of Duty Civil War idea. The guy almost made me laugh halfway through a sentence.
Call of Duty Civil War. Oh my gosh. I wouldn't mind seeing CLoWnZ come back. That was a good game.
Game was awesome. I love Wild West games.
Yeah, me too, man. That's a franchise. That's one thing I think Xbox could do is take that gun IP, right, and do their own big Western style game. That'd be nice. I just don't know if they'll come out with a game called Gun.
PlayStation has a game called MAGG, which I'm going to sue them. I'm going to sue them over.
Yeah. So everybody, I wanted to dive into this next. So because you were bringing up this whole COD idea of this one massive game, right? That encompasses everything, kind of like Master Chief Collection. Well, rumors are swirling currently that there's something in the works from Microsoft involving one of their other IPs, and people are trying to guess which one it is. I think this came from either Grub or Jez Corden. I can't remember exactly which, but they said that one of the Xbox IPs that they were hearing is getting the Master Chief Collection treatment. Now, my mind automatically goes to the only franchise I could think that would make a lot of sense for that, and that would be Gears, right? Mm-hmm. Because you got so much multiplayer you can put into there. The other franchise everybody was saying is Fable, because you're trying to bring the brand recognition back, right, with that as well. And you remember the Fable team Playground made a interesting tweet last year that was like, "Oh, we're excited, news coming tomorrow," or something like that. And they made chicken. They did something with chickens or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or I can't remember. No, it was Xbox Global Publishing actually. I did it. I think that made that tweet, and everyone's like, "Oh, Fable! It's something to do with Fable." And then they retracted it and said, "Oh, sorry, no news." It was really weird, right?
Yeah.
So 100% they got to be doing something.
So it's either Fable is getting a trilogy remaster collection, or Gears potentially, if the rumors are true. But the only other ones I can think of, but they said Xbox IP, so I don't know if that includes Bethesda ZeniMax. If it did, then that opens up a whole other can of worms, because you could do it for Elder Scrolls. You could do it for Fallout, right? You could do it for a lot of things. So Doom, you could do a collection. I don't know, man. What do you guys, which one, instead of trying to guess which one it is, which one do you want? We'll start
all the above.
All of the above. All right. Which one deserves it the most? We'll start with you, Mag. What do you want to see? Do you want to see a Gears collection, a Fable collection?
Okay. Some people are not going to like what I'm going to say here. I think that Gears needs a rest. I think it needs a long rest. And the reason why I'm saying this is because last generation, which we can actually officially call it last generation now, is they were leaning so heavily on Gears, right?
Yeah.
And they were leaning so heavily on the Coalition because let's face it, they didn't have much going on, right? I mean, they had a lot of deals worked out with third-party titles and stuff like that in the beginning of the generation. Then there was that middle slump. Mm-hmm. And then they started hammering out. What did they hammer out? They hammered out Gears 4. And then they hammered out the Gears, what's it called? What was it? The Anniversary
Ultimate
Edition or whatever
Edition,
it was? Or Ultimate Edition, yeah. Then they did the Gears Ultimate Edition, and then they go to Gears 5, and then they went to Gears Hivebusters. Then they did a Gears mobile game, and then, and it was just Gears Pop. And it was like, guys, enough. It's just enough. Enough with the Gears. And you could tell. And it's not just me, guys, because you know what? You go look at the numbers. The numbers were falling off just as fast as Battlefield numbers. Okay, as soon as the multiplayer came out, did well for a bit, and then it just went like Wile E. Coyote right off a cliff. Okay, right after the Roadrunner just ran past him. Okay, that's how fast it dropped. That means that the general public, I'm not talking about the hardcore, okay? I'm talking about the general public are actually done with it for now. So they need to put it on the back burner, let it rest, let people get some anticipation, get some new tech in there, get that Unreal
5.
Engine 5, exactly. Give them some time. Nobody's asking for a Gears of War box set, whatever the hell you want to call it, collection or whatever. Now, here's a weird thing. Now, you brought up Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls 6 is a long way away.
Yeah.
So this is something that I can't see them doing. On top of the fact that, let's face it, Elder Scrolls games take 100+ hours to finish. So imagine a collection of that. Who's going to pump in 600 hours?
Well, they did just do the Skyrim Anniversary Edition. So if they were to go back and do like some kind of polish on the other ones, I don't know. Like,
I can see it, but at the same time, like what I'm doing, I'm trying to just eliminate like the possibilities.
Right.
The other one could be Fable. Now, I agree with you, Mev, that the only one that actually makes a lot of sense to me, besides Call of Duty eventually, would be Fable. And the thing is, because they've got Fable coming up in the next few years, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we're looking at either spring or we're looking at late fall 2023 for Fable, perhaps even early 2024. Okay, so that being the case, you're right. That would be the kind of idea where you bring it up so that you drum up some anticipation for the new game coming. The thing is that some of those games are so far removed from the modern day gaming that you're talking about like a 14-year gap. Like, I don't know, man. Like, that's kind of tough to go back to. You'd have to build it. You'd have to build it from the ground up in order for it to be translatable for gamers today. We got to remember that not all gamers are old farts like us. There's kids out there who are like, who never even heard of Fable. They weren't even born when Fable came out.
Yeah, they don't know what Fable is.
Exactly. My kids don't know what Fable is. And like they were born after that, years after Fable came out. So the thing is, it wouldn't translate well to today's gamer. Okay. And like I said, what I'm saying is the target audience is no longer us. The target audience are the younger generation coming up, because they're the ones who are going to be there in 20 years still playing. In 20 years, we're going to be wearing diapers. So we're going to be too old. Well, I mean, at least maybe I will be too old. But anyway, the point is that maybe it's not Fable. Now I'm in a conundrum. I can't think of the only one that makes sense is Fable to me. But I can't give you an answer because I don't know what the hell they're talking about. So, I'm dumbfounded. Like,
right. I'll get Fuzzy's opinion, then I'll chime in real quick. Fuzzy, what do you think? Okay, what do you want? If you could pick one franchise,
I'm gonna go completely left field on this one.
Oh, okay.
I want a Forza collection, a Forza Horizon collection. I want them to remaster the original map for the original Horizon, Horizon 2, Horizon 3. And Horizon 4, have it where it's to the same level of fidelity as what Horizon 5 is, and have it where, you drive to the airport, catch a plane, you go to the other maps. I know that seems a bit silly, but look, 18 million people playing Horizon 5. I think it might not be such a bad idea.
That's not silly at all. It's a great idea.
You go to one was in England and Italy and like Australia, Mexico, or something like Hawaii. Was Hawaii one of them?
Now, the only thing is I'm wondering is about the licensing, and that's why a lot of these games came off the market, and that's why those games aren't in Game Pass. Have you noticed that?
Well, I would.
And it's a combination of the music and some of the car licenses. Although, even if like the locations would be enough with the current car list, I think that would work well enough where I'd be happy just to, revisit, Colorado and in current graphic levels that Playground is doing. Yeah, give me that, and I'll be happy. I mean, me being a Forza fan, that would be right up my alley. But overall, I think it is going to be Gears. I suck at Gears, so I'll be completely upfront on that. But I wouldn't mind seeing a collection like that, just for the fact that there are going to be enough fans out there that are going to spend plenty of hours playing that. And if you can, up-res, considering how great the coalition is with Unreal Engine, let them play around with Unreal Engine 5 with some of the earlier maps and things like that, and bring those to, today's visuals in on Unreal Engine 5. I guarantee you there's going to be tons of people sinking out tons of hours into a lot of these maps, revisiting them, having them in, with ray tracing and still doing 60 frames and the level of detail of the the gear and the weapons. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing for them to do. Although I could see Fable as well, but I think I would lean more towards Gears over Fable, and it's not anything direct as far as other than that. I know that there are going to be more avenues that they could probably go with as far as with Gears. I think there were only 3 Fables unless you count the Connect one or something like that. But I it wouldn't be a bad deal by any means to have that, considering that they're working on the latest iteration now. But for me personally, give me Horizon, all the previous maps, current car lists, have it where I just catch a plane and drive in those areas that are up res to today's standard or to their level of detail, like what they have for Horizon 5, and I'll be in heaven for hours on end driving across the world.
I'll say this: if you came up with an interesting idea, Fuzzy, because I hadn't even considered Forza Horizon with this answer, but like if you're right, like the licensing is tied to the cars and the music. So if they just had a new collection, they have all these worlds that they built that they can't use anymore. They're just sitting there, and it's like, hey, it's a shame for them just to disappear off the face of the earth now because of licensing for cars and stuff. So if you did do that, you have all those pre-existing assets. You go in there, give them some new love and care, and make them a little bit nicer. You just doll them up a little bit. Then you can just, like you said, hop on a plane with, and take your cars to any one of these new locations, and then it could keep expanding on itself with every new Forza Horizon release. That would be pretty insane. So I like that idea. However, I will go against Mr. MAGG here a little bit. Now, I agree with you, the Gears numbers overall, and I agree there's an exhaustion overall from Gears, right? The numbers aren't what they used to be, right? However, there is still a very dedicated, loyal fan base for Gears, right? They're very dedicated, very passionate about the franchise, and they still exist. They still show up and they play every day. It's just not the same numbers as you would expect from like another big, huge multiplayer franchise like Halo or Call of Duty or Battlefield or any of these other games, right? But because Gear 6 is probably going to be further off, right? I think it's still really early. I think we're a few years away from that. I think to bridge that gap, you could do that Gears collection and help try and restore the importance of the franchise with the original trilogy to a new audience, right? Because those were the games that everybody loved. Those are the games that everybody remembered. Those are the games that grew the passion and grew the audience. And if you were to put those in Unreal Engine 5, give them a brand new coat of paint, you have those campaigns, you have all those classic multiplayer maps, all of that stuff in one big collection, I think you could make something that would have a big impact. I do. Because of the original trilogy. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people say don't put Judgment in there. I say go ahead and put it in there. You can't just like leave out the one thing that people say they didn't like. You got to include that as well, right? So, hey, put Gears Judgment in there as well, because I had some fun time with it. A Fable, I just don't know if it makes a lot of sense to do a big collection for that. It would be so much work, and like on top of they're already working on the new one, I think it's unnecessary. But I want to get. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say I buy it, man. I buy it. I buy what you're selling right now. I think that makes a lot of sense. That it's I didn't factor in the original trilogy, and I literally was just saying it. The exact what you just said. I was literally just saying it that there's a whole audience that wasn't even born yet when these games were coming out, and that's the audience. That's the target audience now. Those are the ones that they're not worried about the angry old man yelling at the cloud. They want those 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds playing the original Gears. But yeah, they're gonna have to do some work on them. Add the 60, add the 120 FPS, whatever they're gonna do to it.
Yeah.
Add the Unreal Engine 5. Give it that coat of paint. Do whatever they got to do there. That's like, you know what I mean? That makes a lot of sense. However, the thing is though,
yeah.
My question is, when do you release it? And 2 is, when is Gears 6 coming? Because I think they're giving Gears a rest in that department. So my understanding is that they're also working on another project at the same time.
Yeah,
and
smaller project, supposedly.
Correct.
A new IP, potentially.
And the new IP will be coming out before a new Gears. So that being the case, do they release it in, like, let's say 2 years from now? That would make a little bit more sense. That's what I meant by, I should have clarified. That's kind of what I more meant when we were talking about how it needs to give it a bit of a rest. If you give it another year or so, maybe even 2 years, and then release this collection, that would make sense to me. Because then all of a sudden, within a year from that, you might be getting your Gear 6. Because they're obviously working on Gear 6, but it ain't coming out till 2025 minimum, maybe even 2026. So maybe you release this, let's say 2024, and get people on board, and then release the, this new Gears.
Yeah,
whatever it is.
I think maybe holiday 2023 would be a pretty cool thing to launch. Sometime around then. Just to have, like, hey, we have another thing, right? But we'll see. We'll see what it is. It could be anything. It could be Fuzzy's idea. I love that. I did want to touch on, I don't know how you're doing on time, Mag, because I know
go ahead.
So I wanted to touch on these other exciting news that we got the other day. If you're an Xbox fan, then there's 2 more games that were revealed that you can pretty much count on as being going to be in Game Pass, right? And that is a rumored deal. That's a game that was announced, right? Certain Affinity has announced they're working on a new big AAA project, right? And around the same time, Jeff Grubb comes out, hey, Certain Affinity is working on a new Monster Hunter type game that's going to be published by Microsoft. It's going to be Xbox exclusive. And so this is a big deal for Certain Affinity. If this rumor's true, because we know this game exists, but we don't know, they haven't announced what the game is, but according to the rumors, that's what it is. If this Certain Affinity is what the insiders, I won't say insiders, I'll say the people in the know are saying it is, then that means that we're having another big investment from Xbox and from Microsoft in new IP, right? Which goes in line with Avalanche and Contraband, right? It goes in line with that Project Dragon from IO Interactive. It goes in line with a lot of that Project Shaolong, Kung Fu, Wu-Tang Clan, anime style RPG game that's supposed to be in the works. There's just a lot of new IP investment from Xbox, and to see this Certain Affinity thing is a pretty good, pretty hopeful thing for Game Pass subscribers as well. And one more got announced as well. Blizzard just announced that they are making a new survival game, a new IP, brand new thing. They just announced it. It's in the works. Reports came out from Jason Schreier that they are actually extremely excited about that game. The developers are. There's a lot of positivity about it. And if this deal goes through between Activision Blizzard and Microsoft, which most people are seeing no reason why it won't, then that game will be an Xbox IP. It will be Microsoft Xbox IP, and this could be not released until years from now, as it was just unveiled. It doesn't even have a name yet. So that's within just a couple of days, 2 new IP coming to Game Pass on top of the other ones that I mentioned in the future. So what I want to ask, Mag, is to those that are saying about Microsoft and Xbox about new IP, that Xbox only does Gears, Halo, and Forza. They don't invest in new IP, and that's one reason why they're disappointed potentially about this acquisition of Activision Blizzard, right? I say the proof's in the pudding about not only the ones that they've been investing in with third-party companies, but also with their first party, Avowed now, and Grounded was a new IP, all these other things. There's reason to hope that we're going to get even more new IP in the future. But are you excited about the potential of these 2 games coming into Game Pass?
Yeah, and the thing is, the people that naysay or poo-poo these ideas and whatever else, the problem with them is that they're looking at it with horse blinders on. they're only seeing what's directly in front of their face. They're not looking at the whole picture. And why people do that? They're doing that because it fits their narrative. And that's unfortunate because, you know, they're not looking at, like, you just named, I'm not going to rename all the games that you were saying that are coming. Okay. If anybody was paying attention, you already know what I'm talking about. So he's already mentioned the names of these IPs coming and all these new ideas and everything else. And of course, these 2 new ones. Now, what we're talking about here now is that what you're doing is 2 things. You are mainstreaming, okay, the big games that you already have, your Halo, your Forza, your Gears. And then with Bethesda, you got your Elder Scrolls, your Dooms, your Fallouts, your Wolfensteins, okay? And then on top of that, then you got the Activisions, the Call of Duties, the WoWs, the whatever, right? The Crash Bandicoots and all this other stuff that they got coming, the Overwatches. On top of this, what they're doing is, yes, that they're Xbox Game Studios plus the Activision plus the Bethesda. They're all working on original IPs as well. They take time, and while they're taking time, they will utilize that time to basically mainstream those games that I've already mentioned, so that you would be able to cultivate these new IPs and be able to work on them so that they come out polished, interesting, and something that people will be looking at, you know, to dive into as something as an entirely new experience, but at the same time, not sacrificing let's just get it out there. The majority of people want those mainline games. You know, let's just say, you know, you get like an art house film comes out in the movie theater, might be an amazing movie, but where's everybody lining up? Everybody's lining up to watch Spider-Man. Okay. It's the same idea. Everybody goes to see a Marvel movie. Everybody goes to, well, half those people go to see a DC movie. But at the same time, what am I getting at here? There might be that art house film, that original IP, so to speak, and there's only a certain amount of people going to go check that out. Maybe that art house film will turn into, you know, a AAA game or whatever. Look at Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog used to make, you know, silly little PC games that nobody ever paid attention to. Look at them now, fast forward 25 years. Okay, look at them now. They're on top of the world. They're some of the best developers on the planet. Okay, so maybe that art house development team might become that. Xbox is basically doing what I'm calling this is that this is a no or very low risk situation. So what they're doing, what I'm getting at here, is that you take these new IPs, you cultivate them, you let them grow and develop. Okay, but at the same time, you still have the big monster popular ones to keep the numbers in Game Pass. Because if you put just these original IPs, which everybody seems to be screaming for, no one's playing them. Okay, everybody's still playing Call of Duty. So that's why you have to have those Call of Duties and the Halos in there and the whatevers, right? You have to have those games in there because those are the ones that bring the crowds. Those crowds are what funds those smaller games, or let's just say those original ideas and stuff, because you don't know. It's still a risk because nobody knows if those are going to take off.
Yeah.
Project Dragon might be a flop.
Yep.
Let's face it. It may not. Maybe it's a good game, but maybe the crowds just don't dig it. You know what I'm saying?
Like an Evolved, right? Remember Evolved from
Evolved? Yeah.
That was such a big marketed game. Everybody was so behind it, and it was made from the teams originally behind Left 4 Dead. It was going to be their next big thing. This 4-player PvE thing, and graphics amazing. Turtle Rock Studios, and then it came out. Game played great, looked great. People didn't care. It just died like
exactly. So that's
that's
a risk. But what this is for Microsoft is because they're such a big company, this is what you would call a calculated risk.
Yeah.
So you see where, like, if you look across the pond, by the way, if you look at like where Sony, look at what Sony's done from the PS4 up until this point. Have they taken any risks? Zero. It's been the same game over and over, just a different story with a different sad dad. Third person, over the shoulder, action adventure, story driven, mature content. And they stuck with it because why risk $50 million or $100 million or whatever, okay, into something completely original and new? They're not going to do it. Okay, Returnal's a little bit, you know, that was a little bit off the charts. So it was a little bit out of their norm, and it didn't do great. They didn't sell a whole lot. They didn't even sell 1 million copies of this thing. Okay, So I'm just saying that's what I'm getting at. But Microsoft can afford to make those calculated risks, right? And like I said, because you still got, like, they can afford to buy your Call of Duties and your Halos and whatever else. But at the same time, you could work on a Project Dragon, okay, or a Contraband, or this Monster Hunter clone kind of thing that they've got coming out, or not coming out, but coming up at some point,
Yeah.
right? They have the opportunity to be able to test these things out. If they work and if they're a success, great.
Yeah.
And they've got that audience. But if it doesn't work out, oh well, we still got Candy Crush and Call of Duty bringing in the cash.
Yeah, and all those Game
Right?
Pass subscribers. I would argue that Game Pass variety is more key than anything, right? Because you're casting a wide net, right? You're not just trying to catch the one big fish, which they already gonna have with Call of Duty and Overwatch and Diablo and Halo and Gears and Fallout and Elder Scrolls and Starfield. I mean, it's huge franchises, right? They're gonna have those, right? But also they're trying to catch, like 2 Point Campus from Sega. It's coming to Game Pass day one, right?
Yeah.
That's a completely different audience. You got Total War Warhammer 3 on the PC coming to Game Pass day one from Sega, right? That's a completely different audience, right? So yeah, I think they're less. I think that's one actually asset and good value that happens from the subscription model is you can have more variety and you're not afraid to try things because you've seen it in movies and TV shows already on subscriptions, right? You wouldn't see the Snyder Cut release at theaters in the traditional model, right? You saw it release on streaming services. You wouldn't see these shows that have like odd lengths, right? Okay, there's like a show that's like has 10 episodes, one episode's 32 minutes, and another episode is 56 minutes of the same show. Right?
Boba Fett looking right at you, buddy.
Yeah, and it's because there's nothing cut out of it that the director didn't want. Like it's the original vision there because they didn't have to cut it down to fit some traditional 30-minute model, right? And same, you get the same thing with variety in the subscription model of Game Passes. They're not worried about, okay, if we put this out, the quarterly earnings report of this fiscal year is going to be what's our return and all this kind of stuff. It's more about what's it doing for our subscribers, right? What's our engagement in that game, right? And that's how they're judging that kind of stuff. Fuzzy, before we get out of here though, just want to get your take on these 2 game announcements that we just got, and like it just seems like the rich keep getting richer with if you're a Game Pass subscriber right now, and it's pretty insane.
Yeah, I think the big thing now is that they got kind of like you said, or what Mag was saying, as far as you got games that are a bit of a risk. Who knows if they fall flat type of deal? But the fact that they have so many in the works is what appeals to me. They're taking those risks. They're putting things or at least working on things to feed the animal that Game Pass is, and as well as taking care of the Game Pass subscriber as far as having a constant stream of stuff that's kind of in the works. The Blizzard game, it's I'm not as much of a survival game type person, but that's the power of Game Pass. It's in Game Pass. I'm going to give it a try, and I hope that there is some hook to it for me as far as something that will allow me to continue playing that game. But just I don't know. There's so many projects that they have in the wait, like with I think that same team is also working with 343 on some more map stuff as far as for Halo as well. So they have their one project game, and then they're also doing maps and things like that. So there's just so much stuff going on that I don't even know how Xbox is able, or Xbox Publishing, or just the number of studios they have with all the teams they have, can keep track of everything that's in the works type of deal, and how to schedule that, the release cycle, what that looks like, how the planning goes as far as when to release them, and if something has like a fallback plan, the secondary window, and so forth. But I'm just looking forward to, at some point, some sort of announcement or more details on these games that are in the works. I know we're not going to have an E3 this year, but hopefully there's an XO or some sort of Microsoft / Xbox show, considering how many studios and teams they have.
The
At this
third
point,
party
they're kind
deals
of like their
too
own.
from Xbox Global Publishing. It's like insane the
Yeah.
amount of projects. Like it's going to be a
Yeah.
legitimate problem. Like how are they going to have the time and shows to be able to properly treat all of these games with announcements, right?
Well, you know what though, but they need this because if without this, how can you have a successful a subscription service?
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like you look at for example like Disney Plus. Disney Plus goes they piggyback one show after another, right? And they do that, and that's why they do. By the way, I mean they do the weekly show thing for two reasons. One, and they always start it in the middle of a month because they want you to subscribe to 3 months instead of 2 just for the one show, right? I mean that's the scam, right? We all know that's the scam. Let's face it. Anybody been to Disney World, you know that a bottle of water doesn't cost $25. But you know what I'm saying? But that's what they do. The other reason is that they do it to keep people subscribed for longer periods of time. So let's say as soon as Boba Fett ends, and they just piggyback off the next show. It's like maybe a week or two, and then the next show starts, and then the next show starts, and then Mando 3 comes out at the end of the year or whatever, right? And then that's what Xbox is going to have to do with Game Pass, right? Eventually, they're not going to be able to get all of these third-party deals down the road because let's face it, some of these other companies are going to start buying these other third-party developers. So they're going to have to rely eventually in the next couple of years, they're going to have to rely entirely in-house with what they've got going on. And you cannot wait for 5- and 6-year game dev cycles to get a game into a subscription service. It's not going to work for long-time subscribers. So that being the case, they have to keep these deals going. So you're not only going to have, like I said, the in-house stuff doing, you're going to have the Activisions, the Blizzards, you're going to have the Bethesda, ZeniMax people, you're going to have the Xbox Game Studio people, and then at the same time, they're going to be wheeling and dealing all across the globe to continue to get these third-party games in there. They have to. And it's got to come every month, Mav.
Yeah.
Every month.
You're right. I agree. And when you look at the breakdown of the third-party deals they're making of bringing games to Game Pass day one, plus the games that they're kicking off with third-party developers with global publishing, then you also kick off all the first-party stuff that they have, and then the acquisitions that they keep making, especially bringing in Activision and Blizzard and all those teams. And this was not just about Call of Duty. It's about unshackling those teams to get more games created for the service. All of those things play a huge factor into the subscription model, which is why Xbox is investing so heavily in it, and it's being successful. It's showing fruits of the labor, and they're able to tout these numbers to all of their partners and subscribe and at publishers that they do business with, and say, "Hey, come over here, take a look at what we're doing. Like, we got a great play. You want 30 million, people to look at your game instantly, right?"
Mav, can you even keep up with Game Pass now?
No, I can't.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I downloaded what the hell's it called? Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Right? Haven't even touched it. All of a sudden, Hitman, which I was talking to with Rand. Rand is still saying that it's one of his games of 2021.
Yeah.
Okay. Haven't touched it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now there's this other game, Nobody Saves the World or something like that. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Everybody's talking about it.
Yep.
So now I got to go check it out. I downloaded Death's Door. I played like 2 hours. I can't.
Yeah.
Like, it's impossible.
I saw an idiot take on Twitter about, people are just playing these games because they're in Game Pass. These aren't good games, or they don't have interest in the games. And they said, for example, the Gunk. And he used like the Gunk as an example of like one thing that maybe people weren't as excited for. But you know how many people love that game because they tried it? That's the point of it. Now, the other thing is you can't just say, the Gunk, and make that as an example of everything that's in Game Pass. You got Halo, you got Forza, you have It Takes Two, which won Game of the Year last year at the Game Awards.
That's right.
Forza Horizon 5 won Game of the Year from IGN last year. Halo Infinite, I believe, won from Game Informer or some other big publication.
Psychonauts 2 won a shitload of Game of the Year.
Psychonauts 2 is what I mean. So, like, okay, you're ignoring all of this other stuff that's in there. That's won Game of the Year awards, been nominated out the ass. That other big third-party titles are coming in there day one as well. And I think that's just like a misconception overall that some people still have, is like it's a value service. And when they say value service, they think it means lesser value and lesser quality games. And they don't say that when they subscribe to Disney Plus, or when they subscribe to Netflix, or they subscribe to this or that. It's not a lesser quality stuff you're getting. In fact, a lot of times, like for example, HBO Max, you're getting an amazing quality stuff, right? Dropping in right away. And that's kind of like the misconception, I think. It's actually allowing for more risk, more, there's a lot of great things in there that people just don't mention when they're trying to use Game Pass's bad argument, right? So, anyway, I had to mention that take. I'm not going to say who made it, but it was fucking stupid. Sorry for my language. All right, so anybody that's watching, appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I see the chat was hopping, guys. I do see all you guys there. It's hard for me to talk and interact a whole lot with the chat during the shows, but I do see you. I appreciate all of you guys. All the channel members, you've been seeing your names scroll below. Appreciate you as well. Guys, this is going to be on audio platforms as well. Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of the above, as well as all of our other shows. But I want to say thank you to the MAGG for bailing us out here, because
of course, man,
he's got more important stuff to do today than be on a podcast. But you were like, hey, I got something to do in a little bit, but I got time now. And you're like, I'm going to come hang out with Mav and Fuzzy and chill. So thank you for being here, dude. I want to make sure people know where to find your crazy ass videos.
Come on, guys. It wasn't a chore being here. It was a great time, man. And anytime that I'm home and whatever, always hit me up and see if I'm available. I always have a great time on this show. And yes, you can follow me on Twitter at the Middleagegameguy. That's with a GY at the end, by the way. And hey, come on. If you haven't seen me by now, what the hell are you doing? I'm all over the place. So at least I'm trying to be. But anyways, you catch me there. And of course, you guys can catch me Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern with Mr. Boomstick XL when we do primetime gaming. And we got ourselves a doozy of a show coming up this Monday. So should be interesting. Come check it out. We're about an hour before Colt Eastwood goes on. And so come check us out. But guys, it was a great show. Fuzzy, it's always awesome to be on a show with you. Mav, always awesome. Say hi to Kaylin. Kaylin, you're bringing that smoke tonight. Absolutely love the chat. You guys were great. Yep. And I got to say, here we go. Guys, got any mods in the chat? Get rid of that spam guy. You got one of those Russian porn.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Russian porn spam. Gotta love it. That must have been Caitlin. But anyways, guys, everybody have a great night. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Later, Mag. Fuzzy, as well for you, man. Thanks for always being here and contributing to everything we do here on the channel. So super appreciate you, man. Tell everybody where they can catch you tonight.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Mav, or MAGG for being on here tonight. Always awesome being on here with you as well. Yeah, thanks, Mav, for having me on here tonight. Thanks to the chat that came out. For those interested in my ramblings on Forza or other games, you can find me on Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. And you can catch me in probably the next hour on the Shop Podcast with PTK Blam, Pong Soul, and Centurion 1307, as well as Steel Rain will be hanging out with us tonight over there. So nice. Definitely come hang out with us. And man, thank you so much. This was fun as always. Thank you.
All right, guys. Yeah, Fuzzy, appreciate you, man. Chat again. Love you all. Hope you have a great one. Take it easy. Bye-bye.